The soft afternoon light filtered through the school hallway windows as Margaret Chen pushed her cleaning cart past the colorful bulletin boards. At 58, she had learned that dignity came not from a job title, but from doing honest work with care. The elementary school hallways always smelled of crayons and possibility, a scent that reminded her of raising her own daughter, now grown and living across the country. She was wiping down the water fountain when she heard the small voice. "Excuse me, ma'am?" Margaret turned to see a little girl, perhaps 6 years old, with blonde pigtails and a pink dress that looked freshly pressed. The child's blue eyes were wide and hopeful, yet tinged with something that looked like loneliness. Margaret recognized that look. She'd seen it in the mirror during her own difficult years. "Yes, sweetheart," Margaret said gently, pulling off her yellow rubber gloves. The little girl fidgeted with the lace hem of her dress. "My name is Emma Whitmore. And I have a really big favor to ask you." Margaret knelt down, her knees protesting slightly, bringing herself to the child's eye level. This was something she'd learned long ago. Children needed to be met where they were, not talked down to from above. "What is it, Emma?" The child took a deep breath as if gathering courage. "There's a Mother's Day play at school next Friday. All the kids are supposed to bring their moms, and I was wondering—" Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Could you maybe pretend to be my mom? Just for the play?" Margaret felt her heart constrict. She glanced down the hallway where other children were being picked up by their parents, wrapped in hugs and easy affection. "Where is your mother, honey?" she asked softly. Emma's eyes dropped to her shiny Mary Janes. "She's away. She's always away. Daddy says she works very hard and it's important, but she's never here for the school things. My nanny usually comes, but even she said the invitation says mothers only." The little girl's voice cracked slightly. "All my friends will have their moms there. I don't want to be the only one without someone." Margaret sat back on her heels, thinking of her own daughter at that age. She remembered every school play, every bake sale, every small moment that had seemed ordinary then, but now gleamed like jewels in her memory. Time, she had learned, was the most precious gift you could give. "Emma, sweetheart, where's your father? Does he know you're asking me this?" The child shook her head. "Daddy's at work, too." "He's always at work. Mrs. Patterson, my nanny, is waiting in the car outside. She knows I wanted to ask someone. She said I could try." Margaret felt a familiar ache. She'd been a single mother herself after her husband passed away when their daughter was young. She'd worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat, but she'd never missed a school event. Never. Some sacrifices were worth making. "Tell me about this play," Margaret said gently. Emma's face brightened slightly. "It's called A Garden of Love. Each kid is a different flower, and our moms are supposed to be the gardeners who helped us grow. We have songs and everything. I'm a sunflower," she smiled shyly. "Because of my hair," Mrs. Henderson said. Margaret reached out and gently tucked a strand of blonde hair behind Emma's ear. "That's perfect casting. So, will you?" Emma asked, hope flooding her voice. "Will you be my mom for the play? You're always so nice when you clean our classroom. You smile at everyone, and you helped me that time I spilled my juice box. You said accidents happen to everyone." Margaret felt tears prick her eyes. She thought of all the invisible people in the world, the cleaners, the servers, the helpers who moved through life doing necessary work that others barely noticed. And here was this child seeing her, really seeing her. "Emma? Honey, I would be honored," Margaret said. "But we should probably ask your father first. And your nanny." "I don't want anyone to worry." Emma's entire face lit up like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Really? You'll really do it?" "Really," Margaret said, standing up with a soft grunt. "Now let's go talk to Mrs. Patterson, shall we?" That evening, Margaret received a phone call. The voice on the other end was polished, professional, and exhausted. "Miss Chen? This is Richard Whitmore, Emma's father. Mrs. Patterson told me about what happened today. About what my daughter asked you." Margaret settled into her worn armchair, her cat purring on her lap. "Yes, Mr. Whitmore, I hope I didn't overstep." "Your daughter is a lovely child." There was a long pause. I'm embarrassed, to be honest, that my daughter had to ask a stranger for something like this. Her mother and I divorced 2 years ago. She's building a business empire in New York. very successful. But success has a price, and Emma pays it. His voice carried the weight of guilt that Margaret recognized. The burden of trying to do everything and feeling like you're failing at what matters most. And I'm no better, he continued. I run a tech company. 14-hour days are normal. I tell myself I'm building a future for Emma, but I'm missing her present. Mrs. Patterson is wonderful, but she's not family. Margaret stroked her cat's fur, thinking carefully about her words. Mr. Whitmore, I raised my daughter alone after my husband died. I worked constantly. The difference was I had no choice. It was work or lose our home. You have choices. That's both a blessing and a burden. She heard him exhale slowly. You're right. You're absolutely right. And that's what makes this worse. I didn't say it to make you feel worse, Margaret said gently. I said it because you still have time. Emma is 6. You have years ahead of you. The question is what you'll do with them. Another pause. Will you still come to the play, please? Emma hasn't stopped talking about it. She's happy. I haven't seen her this excited in months. Of course I'll come, Margaret said. I gave her my word. Thank you, Richard said, and his voice cracked slightly. Thank you for seeing my daughter when I've been too blind to really see her myself. The week leading up to the play, Margaret found herself looking forward to it more than she'd expected. Emma would run up to her in the hallways, sharing details about her costume, practicing her songs in a sweet, slightly off-key voice. Margaret learned that Emma loved butterflies and purple ice cream and chapter books about magic. She learned that the little girl was frightened of thunderstorms, but pretended not to be because she didn't want to bother her nanny. She learned that Emma kept a photograph of her mother on her nightstand and kissed it every night before bed. On Friday afternoon, Margaret arrived at the school in her nicest dress, a simple blue one she'd worn to her nephew's wedding 5 years ago. She'd curled her gray-streaked hair and put on the pearl earrings her late husband had given her. Emma was waiting in the classroom, and when she saw Margaret, her face transformed with pure joy. You came! You really came! Emma ran to her and hugged her waist tightly. Margaret hugged her back, feeling the small body trembling with excitement and relief. Of course I came. I promised, didn't I? The cafeteria was decorated with paper flowers and streamers. Mothers and children filed in, finding their seats. Margaret noticed the other mothers glancing at her, some curious, some confused. She held her head high. She had every right to be there. The play was simple and sweet, the way elementary school productions always are, slightly chaotic, thoroughly charming, with missed cues and forgotten lines that only added to its innocence. Emma stood proud in her sunflower costume, her voice clear as she sang about growing toward the light. When it came time for the gardeners to join their flowers on stage, Margaret walked up slowly, her heart full. Emma took her hand and squeezed it tight. They swayed together to the final song, and Margaret found tears running down her cheeks. After the performance, as families mingled over cookies and punch, a tall man in an expensive suit approached them. His eyes were Emma's eyes, the same deep blue. Ms. Chen, he said, extending his hand. Richard Whitmore. Thank you for being here. Before Margaret could respond, Emma had launched herself at her father's legs. Daddy, you came! You came to my play! Richard picked up his daughter, his expression a mixture of love and regret. I wouldn't have missed it for anything, Sunshine. I'm sorry I missed the others. Margaret watched them, father and daughter, and saw the beginning of healing. Sometimes all it took was one person to stop and notice that something was broken. Sometimes noticing was the first step toward fixing it. Emma, Richard said, setting his daughter down but keeping hold of her hand. Ms. Chen has been very kind to us. Very kind indeed. What do you say? Emma turned to Margaret with shining eyes. Thank you for being my mom today. It was the best day ever. Margaret knelt down one more time. It was my honor, sweetheart. Absolute honor. But you know what? You've got your real daddy right here, and I think he's going to start coming to a lot more of your events. Isn't that right, Mr. Whitmore? Richard nodded, his jaw set with determination. That's exactly right. Starting now. Starting today. 3 months later, Margaret was cleaning the same hallway when Emma came bounding around the corner, followed by her father. It was early afternoon. Too early for pickup time. Ms. Margaret! Ms. Margaret! Emma called out. Guess what? Daddy picked me up early because we're going to the aquarium. Just us. Want to see my science project? I got an A. Richard smiled sheepishly. I'm down to 8-hour days now. Still long, but better. We have dinner together every night. And Wednesdays are now Emma and Daddy adventure days. No phones, no work, just us. Margaret felt warmth spread through her chest. That's wonderful. That's just wonderful. It's because of you, Richard said simply. You taught me that success means nothing if you lose the people who matter while you're chasing it. Emma hugged Margaret's legs. And guess what else? My real mom called last week. She's coming to visit next month. Daddy says people can change if they want to. Margaret smoothed Emma's hair. That's true, honey. People can always change. The hard part is wanting to. As they walked away, Emma's hand in her father's, the little girl turned back and waved. Margaret waved back, thinking about the strange and beautiful ways that lives intersect. How a moment of kindness can ripple outward in ways we never expect. She thought about how we all wear different costumes. CEO, janitor, parent, stranger. But underneath, we're all just people trying to do our best, trying to connect, trying to matter to someone. That evening, Margaret called her own daughter across the country. They talked for an hour, catching up, sharing the small details that make up a life. When they hung up, Margaret sat in her chair, her cat purring, and felt grateful for simple things. Honest work, kind children, second chances, and the wisdom that comes with age. The understanding that the most important things in life are never things at all. They're moments. They're connections. They're the times we choose to show up for someone who needs us. Even when, especially when, we don't have to. And sometimes, the greatest gift we can give costs nothing but our presence. Our attention, our willingness to see another person's pain and say, simply, I'm here. You matter. You're not alone. That's the wisdom that comes with years. Knowing that we're all fragile, all struggling, all hoping to be seen and loved for exactly who we are. And sometimes, all it takes is one person to notice.